some of the challenges you're facing, constraints, from moving from legacy to the new future state?
So one of the interesting things that I've been observing lately is that MasterCard by its business model, we're like a business to business. We're like in the B2B space. So contrary to some people, we don't actually issue cards. The banks issue the cards. So and I am in the space of big data monetization. So what we're kind of finding, especially with clouds, the other businesses that we're working with or partnering with or collaborating with, they already have established cloud systems as well. And before, let's say, even like a year ago, we would be more like a closed loop system, but now you almost have to embrace the open API system. So the way this is working right now, a business can come to us and say, oh, by the way, we would like to get your data, but we would like to visualize that in our platform, for which we have spent millions of dollars, right? And sometimes some of our clients would come to us and say, by the way, we really like your platform, we would like you to ingest our data. So the clouds are actually kind of becoming even more networked, right? And I actually sincerely believe that the future of data innovation is going to be giant mashups, where organizations are going to be mashing up social media, weather data, maybe like probe data from cell phones, and that's kind of in the future as I see it.
In fact, I would like to get back to you on that a little later. I
Yes.
think about the whole data mashup and innovation part. But let me ask Albert about, how are you handling the cost implications of all this move? How does the cost-benefit equation work out?
It's very difficult. From an M&A perspective, usually when we talk about integration and driving synergies, it's baked into the deal. But when you look at the IT organization at large, and I'm sure you all know this, and I experienced it when I was an operator in IT, you've got this huge expense base, you've got this cause and effect, well, if I cut this service off, you're not going to get this functionality, what do you want? We can do anything you ask for, just bear the consequence. And so that's one big problem to solve. And it's got to be solved because there's supposed to be an equation that if you bring in new cloud service-based technologies which supposedly create differentiation, you need to sunset something. But usually the argument is that you can't because you've got runoff on existing or legacy businesses, so we've got to find a way to solve for that issue. One thing that we do see, because we spend a lot of time talking to the investment banks, is that we see that innovation is getting cheaper and cheaper outside of the core brick-and-mortar organizations. So you can establish a garage band set of programmers in Silicon Valley, they can build a community, build a couple of screens, find a couple of alliances, and boom, they've got something to manage a wealth management allocation platform. And this is happening faster and faster and faster. And so, we face the decision, do we buy innovation and cannibalize that construct from our own IT organization? And will the IT leadership embrace that so that they can leverage what we acquire and then build off that, or do they fight the fight to keep the innovation budget that inevitably disappears because innovation is the first bucket that disappears when you have to cut something? What do you do then? And furthermore, do IT organizations have the vision to go beyond their technology stack as it relates to their standardized packages and all the vendors that they deal with, hundreds of vendors, hundreds of apps, and do they have the ability to go beyond that to drive innovation? And so these are the kind of things that we try to deal with. And it has a huge cost implication. How do we drive that behavior to the IT organization, and how does the IT organization adjust its behavior to leverage industry-based innovation as opposed to within their own organization?
So if I were to summarize one of your key points, and you made 2-3 good points there, cost savings are inherent in some of this transformation. It's just about figuring out what to let go and how to then layer the innovation up.
Yeah, that's right. So there has to be an offset. There can't continually be a growing expense.
It's not
based
net
on
new.
That's the first job. That's the first road out the door for a CIO these days. There has to be a way to manage that offset. Innovation minus, and then you have to offset a legacy
Interesting.
based type of thing.